done. He's been fired. He's out of here. He's fired. So the movie's delayed indefinitely, and David Gordon Green has departed the film. They haven't said he's fired. He's absolutely fired. Bearing in mind, they paid $400 million for the rights. So
this
yes,
is
he's
the part
fired.
that's, got to sting.
Absolutely.
They've got to bring out another movie at some point. They can't not.
You gotta make like 5 more movies.
He's said to have stepped away from the movie to focus on his production of Nutcracker starring Ben Stiller, as well as season 4 of HBO's The Righteous Gemstones. No, he's been fired. Again, they paid $400 million for the rights to make 3 films. They've made 1. They've got to make 2 more because they've got to try to recoup some money. So $400 million plus a $30 million budget. Garbage. And it barely scraped $100 million worldwide. Garbage. But he's gone. Tom, let it rip. Let's go.
Well, I didn't hate the movie as much as everybody did, but at the same time,
oh God, I forgot. Yeah, you and Andre.
I didn't hate it, but I also look at it, if David Gordon Green couldn't get this thing off to a start, and this was the guy that, supposedly brought back Michael Myers, and
I forgot you two bloody liked it.
I didn't really like it though. I look, I see where there's some potential here to go with this. And David Gordon Green was not the guy to do it, especially after the last 2 Halloween films. And I didn't even hate the second Halloween film he did, but I also understand why people did. That third film, though, was tedious. It was hard to watch. This movie
terrible.
Was the problem with Exorcist, Nate, you got to understand, is we've only got 2 decent Exorcist movies to this point. So this movie being not that bad is not saying it's great, right? You got to keep that in mind. Like, in comparison to the other Exorcist movies, yeah, they tried some things they haven't done before, and it has some interesting twists, but I'm not going to sit here and say it's a good movie. I just not going to sit here and say I hated it or it was as bad as, most people say it is. But that being said,
I'll be the voice of reason. I will sit here and I will say that it was absolute trash.
It wasn't good.
Oh, you saw it? I didn't even know if you saw it, Culture.
I made it through about 2/3 of it.
Well, the last third is where the actual decent part is.
Okay, fine. I will watch the last third, and then I'll come back.
It also starts off with one of the worst things ever in a movie.
Trash.
I'm not going to sit here and argue with you guys. I'm just going to say, I'm not going to sit here and say I've definitely seen a hell of a lot worse shit, though.
Oh yeah. Oh, but look. If you're going to spend this much money, as Mr. H pointed out, I mean, and you pointed out actually, Tom, that you're spending this massive amount of money to acquire this property, and then this thing does nothing.
Well, here's the thing. That's not true. If it wasn't for that $400 million damn dollars they spent on just the rights, the movie would have been profitable.
But it's supposed to be
the problem.
It's supposed to be one of the grandfathers of
but none of the sequels have ever made a shit ton of money. See, that's what I said to begin with when this whole thing kicked off. I'm like, fuck it's never really been a franchise. Warner Brothers and Morgan Creek have tried to make it a franchise, and it just never quite worked. There's only been one good sequel, like I said, and that is the third one, and that's just because you had William Peter Blatty do his second novel as a movie. Mm-hmm. And it's so different from the other Exorcists that's why it works so well. It just happens to be in the same universe, right? I mean, this was kind of like half-ass trying to be like the original, half-ass trying to modernize it, half-ass trying some new things. It ends okay, but from here on out, like you said, they've got to make 2 more of these things just to try and recoup their money. The only thing they can do now is boost Linda Blair like they did with Jamie Lee Curtis as much as possible in the second film. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Because you can't rely on what's-her-face to be there much longer because she's 90 years old. I mean, and she was one of the worst parts of the movie. That I will agree with. I wish they just left her out of it.
Gouged out. Fucking idiot.
Yeah. But I mean,
Like,
her
damn
whole thing was we
patriarchy,
need all the religions. That was the dumbest part of the fucking movie. Yes.
Ugh. It was a terrible film.
Yeah, that and the whole
Bloody
thing with the
terrible film.
priest saying I can't be a part of this, and then the nun, basically, the former nun / nurse taking over his role, was where it lost me too. But what I liked was the twist, and I did like that they actually brought Linda Blair back at the end. But I'm like, why wasn't she in the whole movie? Right? Like this makes no sense. Now,
Yeah.
from here on out, like I said, that's the best you can do. The best part about Linda Blair is she's not going to cost you as much as Jamie Lee Curtis did. So you can put her in 2 movies, film them back to back super damn quick, make them cheap as you can, and just try and hope for the best, I guess. Get somebody like me who actually likes the franchise to write these bastards for you, basically. Not that I have any great ideas, but I mean, I have a few ideas I could run with.
Oh, dear, dear. I mean, look, he absolutely would have been fired. 100%, he would have been fired. Because that.
Oh yeah, it's no doubt about it.
Well, I do wonder what they were expecting. Like, did they actually think that this was a good? I mean, they obviously thought it was a good idea, which is so. I can't believe they thought it was a good investment. $400 million, and then another 30 on a movie. What on earth were they thinking?
Because they didn't get any of the other movies with this. That's what don't make no sense. I'd understand spending $400 million if you're getting all of the other 4.5 Exorcist movies on top of it all, right? Because then you can at least sell the box sets and make some of your money back. That's not the case here. Warner Brothers still owns the first 2. Morgan Creek still owns 3, 4, and 4.5. And they technically own part of this still, even though that it's been licensed out. I mean, and that's all Morgan Creek is now, is just an IP holder, really. And for those who don't know, the other IPs they have are like Young Guns, Major League, Ace Ventura. Just that's the basic bigger ones they got, besides Exorcist. So like
nothing really.
Yeah. And I don't, who the fuck, this has got to be some money laundering scheme or I can't. Who the fuck thought it was a good idea to spend $400 million for the rights to make 3 movies before you even tried one? I don't understand this. It's not Halloween. It's not Nightmare on Elm Street. Like, I can understand spending $400 million for the rights to make a Nightmare on Elm Street series. That makes fucking sense. This makes absolutely none. But I'll tell you what, if I'm spending $400 million on Nightmare on Elm Street, the first thing I'm doing is signing Robert Englund. But anyway.
That's true. Well, that would get picked. Why?
Yeah, and I'd make sure he films all his shit right away.
But you still wouldn't spend $400 million on it either. Like,
I would on Nightmare, but that's probably the only one of those franchises I would. Yeah, because there's potential there that hasn't been tapped. Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, you could make a dozen of those and make so much fucking, especially Friday the 13th, man, has been completely untapped. And again, those are 2 IPs that people like, they enjoy. Shit, they keep making Chucky stuff.
True.
Halloween did very well. The first 2018 Halloween made more money than the entire franchise did up to that point put together, if you don't count inflation. So it's not like that isn't a possibility to hit big. Even Scream did well, as much as I hated it. So I understand to a point where they were thinking on this. They're like, they were trying to make this their next Halloween, but it was a dumb move to spend this kind of money on this franchise. They should have licensed it for one movie, seen how the movie played out, and then took it from there. I don't know how they got talked into this bunk ass deal.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, coerce them into it. I don't get it.
$400 million on the books that you have to make disappear.
That's a lot of cash.
That's what I mean.
I'm just glad, and I'm genuinely glad that people are finally seeing David Gordon Green for what he is as well, because he's not good with horror. He's not. He was supposed to be directing this Hellraiser TV series that never materialized. That was a bad idea.
Is that because of Halloween?
Yeah,
Why?
his first big claim to fame was Halloween, because before that he was a comedy director. And it was because of Halloween's success, they shoved all these movies down his throat. And I'm not like giving him any excuses, but I'm just saying it's the way Hollywood works. And Nate's right. Even the first Halloween was not that good. A lot of people liked it, but I looked at it and I'm like, this movie had one job to do and it didn't do it. And that job was to make me understand why you had to reboot this again, why this had to negate part 2, and why H2O didn't have to exist. And it didn't answer any of those questions, or didn't fix any of those things, or at least give me a good enough reason why those things didn't happen. And on top of it all, they fucked up the perfect opportunity to make Michael Myers just a pure babysitter stalker, because they kind of had it there, but then they lost it at the end. It should have just been, he looks at her and just keeps moving on. And that's when Laurie realizes, I just wasted my whole life on this guy. He don't give a fuck about me. He just wants to go after babysitters. And then she becomes the Loomis character. They fucked that whole thing up, because she's been preparing the last 30 years for this guy, for him to just go, fuck, I don't give a shit about you. You're an old hag. That's pretty much what he should have done. Because if you're not going to make her the sister, that's what makes sense, because then you turn Michael back into the shark that all he's doing is going after babysitters. That's his job, right? And she's the Loomis person going around screaming and hollering, saying he's going to kill everybody. And she's the one who gets him at the end every time. They could have made 3-4 of those. But no, they screwed it up. Halloween, the ends thing was horrible. The only reason I kind of like the second one is because it felt like an old Halloween movie, but let's be real. It was basically Halloween 2 remade. It was. So at the end of the day, it was just stupid. But anyway, moving on with this crap, I'll shut up now, because I find this hilarious. I like you. I'm not surprised. I didn't like the last movie enough to want another one from him. So if that's any consolation to you. So yeah, I am interested to see what they do from here, though.
Yeah, I mean, they will make another one. I wonder whether they'll just straight up, like, just pretend it never existed, that other movie, though. What do you reckon?
I don't know. I mean, like I said, you can just pick up with Regan's story now. See, because what I would do is have her be like, because I did like in part 2 the idea of her experience giving her kind of powers herself to kind of communicate with the other side. So I think you could expand upon that a little bit, to where she could kind of be more of a exorcist whisperer, but not like an exorcist herself. Because that's the thing that really bothered me about the last film.
An exorcist whisperer. Oh my god.
Well, whatever you want to call it. Because I like the scene. The scene that I'm talking about is, if you've ever seen Exorcist 2.
Demon whisperer.
There's this scene where she's talking to this little girl. And then when you realize 2/3 of the way through the scene that this girl has been mute her whole life, and Regan is the first person who's been able to reach her. So like, there's this thing that she has with these powers that she has in the second film. Like, I mean, you can expand upon that a little bit and use that in a way to where since she was, possessed before, she has tapped into the other side, right? Like, she has kind of got she's a good, force in this, but I don't want her to be the exorcist herself, right? You got to have a priest be the exorcist. That's the whole point.
Well, yeah, it makes sense to actually exercise people. But anyway, whatever.
I think discard the first movie and make something new.
Well, their only other choice from here, and I don't even know if they can do this, and I brought this up on Mead the other night when we talked about this, is just remake the original film. But I don't think they can.
No, I don't.
I don't think you would even try.
I wouldn't want to. Yeah. I wouldn't want to, but what else can you do from here? That's just it.
I just said, ignore the first film, make something better. Make some things better. Try to get your money back. I mean, you need the next 2 movies to make $300 million.
From a studio standpoint, as an executive, the only thing that's going to make $300 million is if you remake it. The original.
I don't think so.
That's the way.
Well, anyway.
I'm just saying, I know how they think.
I think that's enough on that. Let's shuffle on because that is absolute garbage.
Yeah.